Hey, this is Josh here with today's Frontend 5, where I break down a front-end concept in 5 minutes or less. Today I'm going to be talking about Flexbox. How do we use Flexbox? What's the difference between Flex and inline Flex, if you've ever wondered that? And then how do we align content on both the horizontal and vertical axes? We're going to be breaking down all that in this video. If you're learning about CSS like this, or HTML, or JavaScript, make sure you subscribe to this video series where I'll bring you a video with more content like this every single day to your inbox. Okay, let's dive into Flexbox. You've probably heard about Flexbox, and it's a different way to display things than the default browser. So by default, a browser will display elements as either block or inline, and that depends on the HTML tag itself. So for example, like a paragraph is going to be displayed as block, which is going to take up the whole line, and a span tag or a link or a button is going to be displayed as inline. But we have flex and inline flex. So what's the difference? Let's go ahead and pull up the browser and we'll take a look together. What I have here is I have a div that I've displayed as flex, and then I have two paragraphs inside each one. Is what you can see is that even though they have about the same amount of text, one is taking up the whole width of the page, the other one is just hugging the content. And that's the real difference between flex and inline flex. The Flexbox one, it takes up all of the parent content that it can, so it goes full width depending on the size of the parent. And then the inline flex one is just going to kind of hug the content that's inside it. So it's not going to take up the whole width of the page. So you can see we have this here. So if you want flex, all you need to do is add this display flex property or rule. And then if you want it to be inline flex, all you need to do is add the CSS property for display inline flex, and that will create that way. So let's look at example 2. In example 2, let's go ahead and bring it up so we can see it first of all. I've created a flexed div, and then inside that div, I went ahead and created 3 balls to represent content and how we can align different things, because I want to show you how this works. Now we have some CSS for these balls, just basically 40 by 40 background color, border radius, nothing crazy there. And then for our flex container, that's where we really control the content that's inside of it most of the time. So this is what I want to focus on. You'll see that it is displayed flex, and it has a height and width set with a border as well, just so we can see it. And then we're using the justify content rule. So this is the property that I really want to talk about. Justify content. What does that do? That aligns content horizontally or on the X axis. So if I say justify content flex start, that's by default, that's what just display flex. Even if this rule wasn't here, it would do the exact same thing. But if we want all of our content to go on the end, we can say flex end, and that will push it that direction. If we want all of our content to go towards the center, we can say justify content center. It's a great way to center your content there. But there are other things we can say here too. So we can also say space between, and that's going to put as much space as possible between all of our items on the x-axis at least. And then we can also say space around, which will put even spacing around our items. And I think there's even a space evenly here. So there's a lot of different ways that we can align our content on the x-axis with Flexbox. Let's look at how we can also align our content vertically using align items. So it's essentially the same thing here. The only difference is I've now added this align items. Now, before we were just talking about horizontal, now we're talking about on the y-axis vertically. So in that case, we're going to use our align items property, and that's what we're going to do to use that. Now, align items takes essentially the same values that justify content did. So flex start is at the top. If you want to put something at the bottom, we say flex end, or the end of the y-axis direction within that Flexbox container. If we want to align it centered vertically, then we can say center, and that will do that as well. So we can use these together to decide how our content gets aligned. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're learning about CSS like this, be sure to subscribe to these videos, and I'll be sure to bring you one like this every single day. I'll see you in the next video.